For years, the story of the U.S. China trade war has been told through one powerful, emotional lens, the lens of the struggling American farmer. We saw the images of hardship in the heartland. We heard the stories of lost livelihoods, and we were led to believe that this agricultural crisis was the main event, the center of the conflict. But what if we were all looking at the wrong thing? What if the heartbreaking crisis in America's farms wasn't the main event, but a brilliantly executed decoy, a smokescreen designed to draw the world's attention here? While the real prize was being quietly secured thousands of miles away? What if the trade war was never really about soybeans? What if it was about securing the resources that will power the next century? To understand what truly happened, we need to look beyond the farms. Weaponizing agriculture. To execute a successful strategy, you must first understand your opponent's weaknesses, and Beijing understood America's perfectly. When the trade war began, China's retaliation was not random, it was surgical. They didn't target microchips or financial services, they targeted the American farmer. Why? Because agriculture is more than just an industry in the United States. It's a political symbol. It is the backbone of the nation. Targeting farmers wasn't just about inflicting economic pain. It was about creating maximum political distraction. It ignited a firestorm in key agricultural states, forcing Washington to focus inward, to deal with a domestic crisis, to spend billions on farmer bailouts. And as America was occupied with its own internal problems, the first part of China's real plan went into motion. This wasn't just a punishment, it was step one of a much larger strategy. By turning off the tap of American soy, Beijing didn't just hurt U.S. farmers, it created a massive supply vacuum, and it already had a plan to fill it. Almost overnight, long-term contracts were signed with Brazil and Argentina. Chinese state-owned companies began pouring money into South American agricultural logistics. The speed and scale of this pivot revealed a crucial truth. This move was pre-planned. The American farm crisis wasn't an unfortunate consequence of the trade war. It was the necessary first step to justify a complete restructuring of China's food supply chain away from the United States. The decoy was in place, the South American Gambit. With America's attention diverted, the curtain lifted on the main event. This was never just about replacing one food supplier with another. This was about a systematic multi-front campaign to secure the strategic resources of an entire continent. Let's follow the money. While the headlines were still debating tariffs on soybeans, Chinese companies were executing a resource hunt for the foundational elements of the 21st century economy. First, the lifeblood of the Green Revolution, lithium. Between 2018 and 2024, Chinese firms like Tianqi Lithium and Ganfeng Lithium poured over $16 billion into the lithium triangle of Argentina, Chile, and Bolivia. They didn't just buy the raw material, they bought the mines. Through these acquisitions, China now controls nearly 40% of the world's supply of the essential ingredient for all modern batteries, from iPhones to Teslas. A $1 billion deal with Bolivia in 2023 was just the latest move to solidify this control. Next, the nervous system of modern technology, copper. In Peru, the world's second-largest copper producer, Chinese companies have become the dominant force, investing billions to control the mines that produce the metal essential for everything from electrical wiring to microchips. They secured the future of energy, both green and traditional. And then there's the oil. Through loans for oil deals, China became the largest foreign investor in the energy sectors of Venezuela, Brazil, and Ecuador, ensuring its massive industrial engine would not run dry. But acquiring resources is only half the battle. You have to be able to transport them. This is where China's Belt and Road Initiative redraws the map of global trade. This isn't just about extracting resources, it's about controlling how they move. Consider the new $3 billion megaport in Chancay, Peru. Financed and built by China's state-owned Costco Shipping, this deep-water port is a game-changer. It is explicitly designed to be South America's primary gateway to Asia. It creates a direct superhighway for minerals, grain, and oil to flow to China, completely bypassing the Panama Canal, and with it, traditional U.S. maritime influence. To feed these new ports, China has been funding a vast network of railways and highways that stretch deep into the continent, connecting inland mines and farms directly to their new coastal hubs. And it doesn't stop at physical infrastructure. In the digital realm, companies like Huawei and ZTE have blanketed the continent. In Brazil, South America's largest economy, Huawei now controls 50% of the entire telecommunications equipment market. They are building the 5G networks, the data centers, and the fiber optic cables that will form the backbone of the continent's digital future. This isn't a collection of random investments. It is a coherent, three-pronged strategy. Control the resources, control the logistics to move them, and control the digital network that manages it all. The political endgame. The billions in investments were never just about economics. They were down payments on political loyalty. And that investment is now paying significant political dividends. By 2022, China had already surpassed the United States as South America's largest trading partner. The total trade volume between China and the region now exceeds $500 billion annually. With that level of economic dependency comes political alignment. It is no coincidence that major South American nations, led by Brazil, are now vocally championing the BRICS economic bloc as a direct counterbalance to the Western-led G7. When key votes happen at the United Nations, South American nations are increasingly aligning with Beijing. This influence is built on a simple, powerful model. Washington has historically offered loans with conditions, often demanding political or economic reforms. Beijing, in contrast, offers massive investments and loans with no political strings attached. But this creates a more subtle and perhaps more powerful form of leverage. It's not debt-trap diplomacy, it's dependency-based diplomacy. When your nation's most critical infrastructure, your ports, your railways, your power grid, is financed, built, and often operated by another country, your ability to make foreign policy decisions that run counter to that country's interests is severely limited. For a century, the Monroe Doctrine implicitly designated the Americas as a sphere of U.S. influence. Today, looking at the economic reality on the ground, that doctrine appears to be a historical relic. China has successfully established a powerful sphere of influence in America's own backyard, not through military force, but through shipping manifests, construction contracts, and trade balances. They didn't need to fight a war, they just bought the board. So let's return to the beginning, the American farmer. Their pain was real, their losses were catastrophic, but their story was not the main story, it was the smokescreen. The U.S. China trade war was never just about soybeans. It was a geopolitical masterstroke that allowed Beijing to use the American farm crisis as the perfect cover for its real objective: the systematic economic integration of South America and the seizure of its critical 21st century resources. While America was looking inward, China was looking southward, playing a long game for continental influence. And by every available metric, it appears to have won. China's strategy in South America reveals a new front in the global resource competition, especially for the minerals that will power our future. In our next video, we'll follow the money and uncover how China systematically cornered the global supply of lithium, a move that could give it ultimate control over the entire EV industry. But now it's your turn to be the analyst. Looking at this broader strategy, what do you believe is the biggest long-term threat to U.S. influence that is currently being overlooked by the media? Share your analysis below.